Could this retire you and your 401k in 10 years? Achieving different results means taking different actions. Brandon Gentili here. So, what are we going to do to fix retirement and 401k? Everyone's feeling it. The average person, many more than the average people, are feeling it, greatly feeling it. What are we going to do for retirement? How are we going to live? Are we going to outlast our money? We know from the previous blog that the government could do to fix Social Security and help people out, but will they? What do you think those chances are? From the senator's own mouth, if you recall from the previous blog. As one of the largest 401k providers, Fidelity, you must be aware of the precarious position of Americans' retirement savings. Yeah, that's because you put them in that situation in general and made that trap for them. But I digress. While the average 401k balance is $129,157, the median balance for 401k accounts is just $33,472. With Americans living longer today than ever before, it is apparent that too many retirees are likely to outlast their balances during their golden years. Ah, boy, oh boy, those poor plebes. The irony of them not realizing their own policies, these politicians that they have created and caused this destruction, is just off the charts. Just oozing, dripping with irony. We know the answer lies within ourselves and how we prepare ourselves and our family for what is coming. We've talked a lot about finance, but also energy, food, water, shelter, barterability, as Lynette Zhang says. How are we going to prepare ourselves? Getting independent, getting resilient, removing yourself from the system, being outside of that system that is crumbling and collapsing around us. That thing you feel, that thing that we all feel, that's the system collapsing around us. That's our kids learning insane things in kindergarten. You name it. That's the food prices doubling each year, and that's going to continue. We're going to see insane inflation going forward. So what are we going to do? The answer lies in here. The 6 inches between our ears, and it lies in here. As JFK said in the old Democrat Party, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I would say both parties really don't believe that anymore, though, because we had the Republicans doing bailouts as well and passing trillion-dollar things in 2020. So it's both parties lining the pockets, either really admittedly or purposely doing it or not. Either way, stupidly, if they are doing it stupidly and not knowing what they're doing and printing currency and devaluing the lives and decreasing the prosperity for all their people through inflation, they shouldn't be in power then if they don't know that. Where could Bitcoin take retirement? Let's just use a theoretical example for where many of the models say Bitcoin will be priced around 2030. Using the problems of the current retirement issues and Senator's own numbers of $133,000 for average 401k, and we know that Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are all going to be insolvent in that same 10-year period as well. Well, wouldn't we want to think about doing something different to achieve a different result? If you buy zero point 0.1 Bitcoin now, and this could be in your retirement account. Remember, we're talking specifically about 401ks, and anyone can do this. This example works for anybody. However, again, we're talking about the 401k, so the average person has X amount, 130,000, and the median is 33,000. But if you took that, and there's gonna be a little taxes in there, maybe potentially, who knows, depending on what you do, or trade, maybe some trading fees or something like that, just depending on what kind of 401k once you have set up. And again, not financial advice, not going to get into that, but this is a theoretical example. If you bought 0.1 Bitcoin now, which would cost you $2,400 currently, and we're just rounding, out of your retirement account, then that's all you stand to lose. All you stand to lose. You can't live on $2,400 now. That's not going to cut it going forward. That's not going to do anything. It's not going to grow and do anything. We've already seen they've had 50 years of figuring this out. Next year will be 50 years of ERISA and the 401k being the retirement vehicle of choice for people. And we see exactly what's going on. It's decimated. There's nothing there. No one has anything to save for retirement, or very few people, right? So how can we get the greatest amount of people to the greatest amount of wealth, improving their standard of living, and then keeping that standard of living going forward? And that's what this is about at the end of the day. So what do you have to gain? That's all you could only stand to lose. 0.1 Bitcoin will only be $2,400. So you can take a little portion of your 401k and you could put it into Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin. Many models predict that Bitcoin will be priced around $1 million per coin around 2030. This is one of my favorite charts. I love on Twitter 200T at 200T. They have awesome charts, and there's all kinds of different charts, all kinds of different people putting these models out on display for people. and in charting this, network effects. And I like this one because it shows the reasoning as to why they think this will continue to play out and how network effects have continued to play out over time, whether it's Amazon, Google, Facebook, Netflix, user adoption. So adoption on the network and people joining the network. And more important, people through hash rate, we know, are joining the network and just buying Bitcoin in general, accounts, wallets, everything continues to increase all the time. Even through these bear markets, continues to increase. That shows you the fundamentals couldn't be stronger. So this is, again, why this model, we use this model a lot. I like this model because it looks right. And I think they might be overshooting even the price a little bit. If insane things happen, this could be undershooting the price. However, we're going to take a little more conservative approach and just say, 2030, it might be 1.8, 2 million to 3 million. I'm going to say, 1 million by 2030. By 2032, it might be 2 million. So that's the numbers we're going to use here. And just be conservative with it. And we're being conservative with the end number. We're being conservative up front with how much you're investing. Only a 10% stake, or we'll talk about a 1% stake in a little bit. So if you had 0.1 Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is going to be about $1 million, we'll just say conservatively $1 million by 2030, that'd be worth $100,000. So to recap, you risked $2,400, and then by the end of the decade, you had the chance to make nearly the entirety of the current average person's 401k balance. That is stunning. Stunning. Let's recap that again. You invested or risked $2,400 now. We know the current thing sucks. It doesn't work. It's not going anywhere. And mind you, we just had a massive run up the last 12, 14 years of the stock market. We just had it crash down again, which, again, when you can't control things, that should make you think as well about, do I want my money just sitting in there? But I digress. And then it's had another run up the last 2 years since March of 2020. So taking a small portion, asymmetric investing, and placing that into Bitcoin. Could there be more? What is the price of Bitcoin? What if the price of Bitcoin was 2 to 5 million, like we said, it could be by 2032, like that chart says, like we used, for example, in the Social Security fund in our last blog yesterday. Again, we're going to be conservative. We're just going to say 2 million. We'll take the low end of that number. If you had 0.1 Bitcoin and Bitcoin was worth $2 million, you would have $200,000. Or it could be up to $500,000 if Bitcoin really pops like some think it will. You would have more than 2 to 5x the average 401k balance through just a 10% stake in Bitcoin now, and just holding it over the next 10 years, doing nothing but holding it. Do not be shaken out of the position and sell, and you will stand to benefit greatly. That is the game. Do not be shaken out. Do not capitulate. Do not shake yourself out. And that's why we say 10%, 1%, 5%, 10%, because if you can't stand to be in it and you've invested too much money, maybe you haven't educated yourself enough and you have invested too much and you have to sell some to live on it, then you're getting caught. And we don't want that to happen. That's why we want to do the position sizing, so that way you can still live your life in the meantime and get through to the next 10 years. Because the next 10 years, you'll stand to benefit greatly, but only if you're in the trade still. If you've sold out at year 2, you don't benefit. Again, the crazy part is once you start going down through these mental models, down these rabbit holes, you start increasing your Bitcoin position size. And I'm one of those people where I had a very little position, a very small position 4 or 5 years ago, and I had all kinds of altcoins. Now I just have Bitcoin. So that's the difference. And we have to understand that going forward, that the more your conviction goes up, the greater your Bitcoin balance goes up, and the decrease of all the altcoins you spend. So like I said, now I don't have any, and it's just Bitcoin, and because it's more the freedom aspect for me. It's the freedom it gives you to transact, and the freedom it gives you, the homeless person on the side of the road, the freedom it gives the family in Nigeria who's being oppressed by their government. It's the family that's fleeing, in the Middle East, and they're refugees, and has the 12 to 24 digits words in their head, and now they have their wealth in their head, and they can now go open up a new wallet in a new place and have all their wealth there for them. That's been impossible before in all of human history. That's the coolest part, and that's what you start getting into. And the more you start realizing that, the more you start increasing your position size. We're like, oh my goodness, this is going to change the earth. So again, here's the average 401k balances and the median 401k balances for all the different age groups as well, just so you can kind of see, really, unfortunately, how dire it is. And this is because of mismanagement, and it's because of poor financial education and total mismanagement. I just met with one of my good friends, Billy, who I played at the U.S. national hockey team with, and he's a wealth manager for a lot of wealthy people. And he just was saying the same thing, how the financial education we have is so poor in school, and it's for a reason. We've talked about it in the blog a ton. The reasoning is The robber barons, the big entrepreneurs 100 years ago, they did not want competition. They wanted employees to work in their business. They didn't want competition on the streets. They didn't want other entrepreneurs, other investors competing with them. That's insidious, but that's real, and that's fact. And we have to understand that, internalize it, be good with it, and then move on and then get ourselves educated. In conclusion, just to reiterate, again, only a small stake now, a small stake can completely transform your retirement. Even a $240 investment now, which is 0.01 Bitcoin, could be 20, 40, or 50 grand 10 years from now. Asymmetric risk and position sizing. Think if you did 20% or 30%, right? Think of the difference going forward. What do you have to risk? You're risking a small amount of capital for potential massive gain. We continue to say that price is the least interesting aspect of Bitcoin. However, we cannot be naive to the fact that there is a massive potential for wealth gain, and that's ultimately what drives many people into the asset and network initially, before they realize the true power and freedom of the system. We know that if we continue doing the same thing, we will achieve the same result. That's the biggest thing. I cannot stress that enough. If we do the same thing, the result's going to be the same. 10 years from now, it's going to be the same stuff. Yet prices of everything in life will be more, but the balances will be the same. This has been 50 years, boys and girls. 50 years, sports fans, as Robert Kiyosaki would say. 50 years, and this is the numbers. Those numbers should be 1 million. The average person. How in the world is the average only $100,000 and the median is 30? How long can you live? How many days? How many months? How many years? 1 year living on that? 2 years? That is insanity. Achieving different results. Like, again, what we know is that if we continue doing the same thing, we will achieve the same result. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is insanity. Achieving different results means taking different actions. What are we going to do today to change our results in the future? Stay strong. Thank you so much for sharing, liking, subscribing to this. If you don't like it, please give us a dislike. Tell us why you don't like it. And we'd love to see that as well. That way we can grow, get better, see what we can change, and provide more value to you, entertain you more, whatever it might be. Again, we're going to have the audio reading earlier this week of Fidelity's report of Bitcoin first, why Bitcoin should be looked at differently than all other assets, and then Bitcoin Get Off Zero, which actually came out first, why it's riskier. Like we said here, they have a whole report on, we're going to read it tomorrow, that way it's in audio format, why it's riskier to not own Bitcoin than it is to own Bitcoin in your portfolio. We're going to have that, and then again, next week we're going to have Elon Musk, why he might be the most dangerous man in the world, but maybe he's the most benign man in the world. So stay tuned. We appreciate you guys, your time and your energy. It's the most important thing we have. Please give your feedback, like, share, subscribe, send it to somebody that you think would love this, needs to hear it, or maybe they'd hate me, and that'd be great too. You can send them to fight with me. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.